it definitely helps the artist to know who you are. Uh, so artists out there, up and coming artists, definitely make sure you know who you are. Doesn't mean you have to, but you should be invested in. You should be on that journey of discovering who you are as you're creating art. Definitely helps. Um, it's such obviously it's a larger answer, but I try and.
Yeah, do your best.
I guess I feel like I'm gonna. I think I'm passionate,
Mm.
and I feel like I have different ways that comes out. And I think I'm passionate about people. I've always worked from a place of humor, and I've used humor to sort of express joy and give joy, I guess you could say. Um, I think overall, I honestly think I'm a person that I'm a loving person, and I say that in a sense of that like I try to the best of my ability to see everything through the lens of love. I'm really big on the connected human experience, and I feel like, especially since I've had time to think about it since quarantine, I think about how I want to use my art and my voice, and I really want to use it to connect people. And I hope to use uh, my love to sort of unite. I know it sounds a little hippy dippy, but
No,
it's
this is beautiful.
no matter where you, I guess you could say, no matter what part of tribe or group you find yourself a part of, I think everyone has that same core of what they want for themselves and their tribe and their core clan. And I hope that I'm able to use my art and my voice to at least have people thinking in the direction of unity, as far as like seeing the common values that people have in those different tribes and clans, and sort of realizing that we're all one. Because I thought a lot about what an artist brings to society during quarantine, and I don't know if you've seen Black is King yet,
Night.
but Beyonce's new film. But it's very powerful and visual, and I feel like we're in a time right now where there's so much negativity put upon Black people, and specifically Black men, well, Black women as well. But I say Black men because I think it goes without saying, it should at this point, that Black women are without a doubt the most oppressed people on the planet. And then I think, and men, Black men aren't too far behind that. And I feel like her piece basically, literally in the title, Black is King. And it's nice to see her sort of give men their flowers while still uplifting women. And, that's that thing. It's like we have so much to heal as far as Black people go. And I think just showing that, praising both, and just showing, I guess, the power in unifying is so beautiful. And I say all that to say, for me, it was like, if I ever wonder, or if people wonder what place an artist has in this world, I feel like something like that film that Beyonce created, and I'm not like a Beyonce stan. This is just me like, wow, this is an amazing piece of work. Uh, that's seen by everyone, or it can be seen by everyone. And that sits with people, and that sits with young people. And I think it's great to put that out there and spark those minds. Because when you donate to stuff like charities and you post, that's all like that's kind of like in one tunnel. That this goes here, this goes to that. But when you make a piece of art like that that expresses that much stuff and that much like humanity and spirituality and all that stuff, like that's for everyone. And everyone can take that in and take that, and that can inspire them to do whatever in the world positive.
And it lives on.
So like that was like so awesome to see on that level.
I think that's an amazing statement of who you are, and I want to keep touching on that since we're there, because it seems like from the person that I met a couple years ago, we met through the UCB scene, both of us taking classes, and you, like I mentioned to you before we started this, it was always supportive, and a friend of mine. We was saw the Mike Tyson one-man show, and I shared with you that I want to do a one-man show. And then I saw the one-man show that you did at the Pit. And
Right.
I always felt that you were
A long
someone.
time ago.
Yeah. I always felt you was someone kind of like searching and digging of how do I create my own lane in the sense of like art, but with substance, not just the jokes, because I could just do that and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's weird. It's not weird, but it's great to see you. So there's something that happened to you during this quarantine that kind of like I feel it like kind of clicked and shift where you want to go deeper, even more deeper than where you was at, and create something that's has longevity that will not only help you but also help others and see a big picture and be filled with hope. My question to you is, I guess, what is that for? Why is that so important? What was the shift for you in a sense of like, I know I can make people laugh. I know I can do dick jokes. I know I could do any type of scene or whatever. But
With the best of them.
yeah. But now, what is this search means to you to like, I want to make sure that when I go back out there, I'm creating something that has a message and a meaning and a purpose to it. Not only make you laugh, but make you think, because the same thing happened to me. And hence I started creating these one-man shows that has helped me, but you're going on a journey.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it's so when I was younger, like very young, when I first started to want to do acting, I was probably like 18, 19. And I remember thinking to myself, uh, and then even when I found comedy at the beginning, oh, I like to make people laugh. So I think I just kind of held that sort of superficial level for a while. Like I like to make people laugh. Then it was like I like to make people laugh and feel good because specifically when I was younger, wanting to do television and film, it was because when I watched good TV shows, when I watched good films, it gave me that escape from real life for a moment. Because life can be a lot, and it was this great relief for me. And I wanted to, I guess you can say, help provide that relief for people. And that's cute. I mean, it's very good. But then I do this thing of like now where I kind of want to ask the why of the why.
Mm.
So I was like, well, why do you want to make people feel good? Or what is that in you that makes you want to do that so much? And then I think I learned over the years through close friends and peers and even some audiences as far as like having, I've been lucky enough to have shows that have run for a while. So I've had people come to the shows often and, you see the same faces. And I've already said this before, I'm a people person. So I talk to people sometimes. If I can have time after a show, I'm at the bar, I'd love to talk to somebody who's a fan of the show. And I would say that I feel like even for moments of just having some small talk, it depends on where that topic can go, but there's things, the people that I make laugh, sometimes I kind of get a glimpse of the other things in their life. And then I guess you can say like, oh man, they really need this. And there are all these people from all walks of life that come here to laugh at whatever it is that I'm producing. And I know behind that, no matter who you are, where you're from, there are other things going on. And I guess it came down to like, how can I use this gift that I have that can sort of make people feel seen and heard and like they're not alone. And then if you don't look like me, or you're nothing like me, and you still connect on that level, that's still useful to you. And there are things that we've seen and we've taken in from all over, especially in theater, but even in different forms of media, where it could be a quote, it could be a line in a song, it could be a scene in a movie, but it does something to you. It feeds you in some way sometimes, and you hold it, and you might throw it in the back of your head. But the same way, I think you put so much on like the negative things that can be put in your subconscious. There's so much positive that can be put in your subconscious. So I realized that I can use laughter and in general the arts, so to say, as far as acting and all forms of media, to try and get that out there and put those good things out there and help people see those good things. Um, yeah, I'll wrap it up there because I can even go into a longer version. I was like, you know
That's
what, I'll
great.
cap it off there and I can save some other stuff for later. But yeah.
When you realized that you wanted to act, what was it that made you realize that, and how did you go about it?
So initially, like that infancy stage of me wanting to be an artist, I do think it was a combination of I'm good at this mixed with uh it just feels good. It feels good to get laughs and it feels good to give laughs. And that was it. And there's a little bit of ego and vanity of that. A little bit, you know what I mean? But that was the initial thing. It was like, oh, I like this attention. And I know that you feel good. This is nice. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that initially. Uh and then it got fun. And then it got hard. And but those were all exciting to me. Because then it was like this code you try and crack, you know? So I
Mhm.
felt like there was always these levels of it. And every time I did something, I had to learn that. So it was like I had a couple acting classes in the beginning. Some things happened, I had to kind of fall back from that. Then I found this wonderful playwright, Miss Dara Bragg in Queens, New York. And she had these postings out online and like in backstage, and they're just looking for actors for this thing. And it was like nearby to where I lived, the audition place. And I'd never seen like an audition place. It was at Roy Wilkins Park. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, let me go here and audition. And she was just wonderful. She was so nice. She cast me. And it's so funny. The first production I did with her was a sketch variety show. And I didn't start acting to do comedy. I just wanted to be an actor. And I know it was funny, but I didn't think comedian because I thought at the time, oh, comedian means stand up. I
Yeah.
don't understand up, so I don't know how. So I guess hopefully I'll be in funny movies. I don't know how that works.
I
And
used to
then
feel the same
so
way.
that happened to be a sketch variety show, and that was really fun. I played all these crazy characters, and then after that, I did two more productions with her, and they were dramatic pieces, and it was really fun. But even through acting class, workshops, dramatic plays, just in the one offs or like the side talk or the sidebars or rehearsals, everyone always said, "You gotta do comedy. You're so funny. You gotta do comedy." And yeah, I didn't know what that meant. And then finally one day I ended up finding uh, UCB, so to say, and I realized, oh, or rather, I should even say, YouTube came out and became a thing. And then I saw sketch comedy on there, and I was like, oh, this is weird. They're just messing around with like cameras and doing stuff. And then specifically, I found a group called Derek Comedy, which Donald Glover was a part of. And then I saw that they had a regular show happening at UCB, and I was like, well, let me see what this is about. And back in the day, they gave the spiel for classes after every show. So at the end of the show, they were like, hey, if you thought this show was cool, blah, 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 take a class. And then it was kind of the rest is history from there as far as me and UCB goes. But I think once I found that comedy existed outside of just stand up, it was like,
That's
okay,
right.
I can do things that's not just me on top of the stage talking.
Yeah, that's great. And I always felt like with you too that like, yeah, you was in UCB, but you was also like paving your way to be like get all like people of color, be like, yo, come join this group. You know what I'm saying? That it doesn't have to be the only white people like on the stage being funny.
Right,
Like
right, right,
there's a lane for us as well. And like, like the Harriet Tubman of like starting this this revolution about it. Because you
right.
told me everything about it from the scholarship and all that stuff. So I want to touch on that. Like, how was it for you to like now? Because I shared this story recently. Like, when I joined UCB, I wanted to enhance my voice. I didn't want to just do one specific type of humor because you're in a
Right.
room with other people of the same color doing that same humor. Not to say that I'm better than that. I am going to learn about that humor, but I also want to know and be more secure with my voice, knowing that I can adapt in every scene what's being thrown at me. So I went in there going into that because I could see how like you could like shift to another way, and now all of a sudden you lose yourself and lose your comedy just to be one
Mm.
way. Um, how did you, I guess, incorporate that to your acting, your comedy, and then pave your lane to like building and being part of the Astronomy Club, which was the one of, or probably at the time the only black sketch group. You know what I'm saying? Which was huge, and and you guys
Yeah.
were hilarious. And not even if you just take the color aside of it, you guys
Right.
still fucking was hilarious. Whether you
Right.
was white,
Thank you.
tan, or whatever, it was like funny was funny. Just so
Right.
happened that like you're seeing something different. Like, yeah, this is the black sketch group, and it
Right.
could be more of them. You know.
Right.
So describe that journey for you going into UCB and kind of like staying in your lane to learn and grow, but also paving another lane to be like, okay, well, I want to bring everyone together of color into this group as well and show that, hey, we're funny too and we exist. And yeah.
Right. No. So it's funny. Obviously, not obviously, but I guess you could say once people of color appeared, it became almost a natural instinct to be like, "Hey, we should link up." Because I told you this when we first met, I'm sure. But like, when I first started at UCB, there just wasn't a lot of people of color. Um, Literally, when I was in the scholarship program at the time, there were like 16 of us. Now there's like 1,000, maybe, or we're like at the time, but like, so it grew rapidly. But when my first improv team, I was the only black person on the team, and I love this team. By the way, it was great. But I've always had like a block at UCB. When I started, I had a block because I'm a New Yorker. I'm a native New Yorker from Queens. I had some acting classes in the city when I was 19. And I already go into situations knowing that, all right, I'm probably going to be one of maybe two or three black people in this class. And usually I've been right. So, it happened. So with improv, I will say with acting, there was one other black guy in class, and it was instantly like, hey, because we both had that same thought, it'll just be me, but it was two
Yeah.
of us. Anyway, that joy of like another
Yeah.
person. But at UCB, literally my 101 class, I walk in and there's one black lady. I'm like, okay, great. There's someone here. She never came back after the first class. She never came back. And I was just like, damn, I
Did
wasn't
you send
enough.
an email? Did you ask the teacher for her email? Like, I got to get her back.
No, that'd have been smart. Or just tell her I see you. You don't have to even give me her email. Just forward a message. So she made the right choice. Now she's like on Broadway. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know what happened to her.
She's on Black is King. She directed
it. But so I think, so after that, we had the diversity scholarship. We had some meetings. Around the time my first team, predominantly white, dissolved, I already knew Keisha Zoller, but she had this team called Nobody's Token that had been around for a while now. And I remember I never actually got to see their shows because it was always like a thing of I would hear about it too late, or I think they had just kind of slowed down doing shows when I was really on the scene, or when I was really like in classes and stuff like that. And Keisha had me always kept in touch just from diversity meetings, and again, with there being more brown people, you just check in, you're like, hey, and diversity meetings and such. And she was like, "Oh, we're having we're gonna make some new additions to Nobody's Token. If you want to play with us and just see how the vibe is, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "Oh, that would be great." I had never, I had played with people of color, but it would be like in a jam, and it's like two or three other people on the scene. I don't think I ever played on a team where everyone was a person of color. So I was very excited for that. And that was super, super fun. I mean, literally after we had one rehearsal, and then literally the day after my rehearsal with them, they got an offer to do an NYU show, and they invited me to do the NYU show. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm in the group. I was like, great, absolutely.
Awesome.
So we had that show, and then Nobody's Token was great. I never want to say the first or only black team. It's just the teams that people come across. Because one thing I've learned is there's so many more people out there doing things that may not just be in a unified place like UCB. But to my recollection, I didn't really know too many other groups like that of black people. So I was very happy to play with them. And then we did a lot of different shows all over it. I remember when I joined improv, people always tell you things like, I feel like teachers are always like, oh, if you're here to make money, you're in the wrong place, which is true. But it's like a thing where they always want to remind you of that. And I don't know if that's part of the bigger picture of them not paying artists. Maybe that's a subconscious thing. I don't know. They're always like, if you're here to make money, you're in the wrong place. Nobody makes money from improv unless you're lucky enough. Maybe you're a teacher, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you join Torco, but you don't get paid to do improv. And Nobody's Token, after a while, we got a booking agent, and we were doing college shows. And I remember thinking also you people can do it. It's not common. If you're listening to this, it's not common, but it's not impossible. Right. You know what I mean? If you have something to give, if you have something to show, people will want to see it. You just find a way to get it out there. You know what I mean? So we were very fortunate to have done different college shows, and and that gave us a little bit of money here and there. But it was fun. But I think people people always keep me grounded. Like, uh, the best people to do it are your friends and family. But like I said, you can have moments and connections with people. Like, I think one of the reasons that we've kept in touch, Rick, is like when we link, when we chat, it can be 2 seconds, it can be a text, it can be an
Yeah.
email. The love is still there, the connection is still there.
Yep.
Um, so I carry that stuff with me. And I can't forget the struggle. I can't forget that I was one of 20 people in a diversity program, and now there's over 1,000 people.
Mm.
Yep.
So I can't forget what people are going through. So that's easy for me to hold that and want to show that and want to help people express that, or whatever is something that is creative and expresses anything I feel like people need to see, want to see, if it's joy, if it's whatever, to make people feel, move, learn. I'm behind it. So then it became easy. But also besides that, you just feel good. It feels good to work with your own people. I mentioned before. I'm sorry, I lost a little bit of track. I said I started UCB. I started UCB with a block, that wall, and that wall was knowing that I'd be one of the only black people here. I'm not going to step out here and be a rapper. I'm not going to step out here and be a drug dealer. I'm not going to be pigeonholed into those roles. And people don't always have malice, but it's that subconscious stuff. It's what you carry, what you've already seen in media and comedy for years. Feed into the back of your brain and sit there. They'll just sit there. I know that they're basically calling me out. Oh, it's Tom coming to the stage next. MC Hammer Fist.
Yeah.
And kind of look in your direction. And man, if you caught me back then, coming up in classes like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, I'm not giving that to you. I never gave that energy. It was not happening. You look at me, I'm on the wall. There's always that awkward moment where everyone's waiting for you to come out. And they're like, oh, he's not going to come out? And some white person comes out like, oh, yeah, it's me, MC. Fuck, you come out, MC Hamilton. You know what I mean? So it's like,
But I think that's great, man,
Great,
because it's like you standing up for something. Be
Yeah.
like, yo, I know. Would it be funny? Yeah, but I
Somebody
don't
else
wanna,
could do it.
Yeah, somebody else could do it. I don't want to do that. I like you
It's
do
the
it. You know what I'm
comment.
saying? And why do I have to
right,
be?
right,
Why do I only have to be
Pigeonhole.
this role for this?
Yeah.
right.
So how did Astronomy Club come about? Or am I
Okay.
skipping too much?
No. I'm going to connect this and kind of, I'm going to wrap up the last part too.
Okay.
So I had that block with UCB for years. And then I think when I found Nobody's Token, it's like, okay, I could play any character I want. Now I feel comfortable playing. Now I can be the drug dealer or the rapper more comfortably, because it's like, oh, okay, we're all in on the joke. It's not like this thing of like, you know what I mean,
It's
perpetuating the
not being
stereotype as much as we do.
typecast. It's just you
Exactly.
doing it.
It's just us kind of messing around. And then that was the best part of, like, not every show, but that's like the best feeling when you have a show that's predominantly people of color. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, it's like everyone here, we're coming from that same place and we can kind of enjoy it the same way. So Nobody's Token helped me find that, and then Astronomy Club solidified that. I think Astronomy Club gave me the strength where, for me personally, in my own journey, I could play any character I want anywhere I'm at, because I'm good with my stuff as far as, whatever. I'll still pick and choose now. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not going to just be whoever for anybody. But I'm definitely more comfortable playing any character, and I think it helped with me getting to play with people who looked like me for so long. To the point where after Astronomy Club, I almost struggled with improv for a little bit, because I got so used to playing with like almost like this family. You know what I mean? But that's later. So Nobody's Token had a great run, and then like all great or even bad improv teams, the juice runs out with improv teams usually, and we got to a place where just kind of other people were having opportunities, either in career or even life wise, and they were just moving, or just things were happening. We were losing members, and Keisha was super busy, and she literally was like, well, hey, she was like, why don't you just, you can do whatever you want with Nobody's Token. If you want to, I'm going to fall back, and you can just take the reins. And at that time, it was sort of just me and Monique Moses, and we sort of just kind of reached out to people and sort of built Nobody's Token back up. And at some point in rebuilding Nobody's Token, at some point, let me shout people out. But no, well, we built up we built up Nobody's Token, and we played with so many good people. We played with Cypher Sounds. We played with Suni Reyes. Shout out Suni, love Suni so much. She's out here still doing it, representing.
Yeah, she is.
And James the Third. And James III came on, and we played for a while with each other. Still a couple more college shows here and there, festivals, and then just again, things kind of fluttered out a little bit. And then James emailed me one day and was like, "Hey," he was like, "UCB is having auditions for you can come in as a group if you want." And I think it would be cool if we went in with a group of people of color that we all know. And at this point in my life, I had put UCB behind me and was doing pit stuff. I was just kind of like, "Oh, fuck UCB." I was in that place of like, UCB can really suck you up into a vacuum, and you can get really obsessed with it.
If you let
And I
them,
felt,
yeah.
I think this isn't the first time you may have heard this, but I was like, okay, this is enough. It was a lot of me auditioning and being rejected, and like just feeling when you are in UCB for so long, there's this thing of like you feel like I guess you could say you feel a sense of entitlement, or you feel like it's supposed to be a magic point where you just get things, or you not get things, but you feel like there's a magic point where you feel like I've done a lot of shows, I have some friends. Now it's time for me to be on Harold Night, or it's time for me to be on Lloyd Night. At the time, it was just Harold Night. It wasn't as populated as it is now, or was, but it was still like it was less slots available. And my only thing was they kept kind of sort of stroking my ego in the sense of like not even ego, but they sort of were like, "Hey, you're a diversity member, and we want to see more diversity in the classes and see more diversity on stage." So every year I would audition and I would get told, "Hey," I would get a personal letter, which I found out only after talking about it with white friends who didn't get that same letter. But
Really?
I would get a letter saying like, "Hey," every audition I did, just the first one, "Hey, you were great. You had an exceptional audition, but the numbers are just so much this year. Unfortunately, we can't welcome you back for a callback. But please come back next year." So I remember the first time me and my friends, after like everyone got the news of callbacks, "Oh, hey Ray, how'd you do?" I was like, "Oh, I didn't get a call back." And they sent this bullshit email about, "You were so good, come back next year." Wasn't that bullshit? And they were like, "We didn't get that letter." I was like, "Oh, well then." And at first, and it felt cool. It felt cool. This is the game, the games that institutions play. Like, "Oh, I got this cool letter saying like, I was a cool black kid. Try again next year."
Yeah.
And then you come back next year, I get the same letter.
Yeah.
Come back the third year.
Master loved me. He loved that joke.
Master, right. Oh,
come on next week. Come
I'm special. He chose me over white folks. He told me I'm better than you white folks who didn't get called back. 3 years, not one callback. And it's sad it took me so long. I felt a little way the second time, but the third time it really hit home because it just was like, all right, listen,
Why do you need a callback if you've been there for years?
Right. And that's what it took me the third year to realize that. I'm like, I'm not saying I deserve to be on Harold Night. You only have like 16 slots. I'm not saying I'm that guy. This is BS. But you've told me for 3 years how amazing I am, and there's just no room for me to get a call back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, if you think I'm that good, give me a call back, bro.
Exactly.
And or if I'm not getting a call back, let me see. Oh shit, you putting on mad people. You putting on mad diverse people. So it wasn't my shot, but you know what? You got this black guy, you got this, you got this Asian lady, you got this Spanish, but you wasn't even making the number. It wasn't even there. Yep. So not only are you not giving me callbacks, but who are you giving callbacks? Because there's still like 2 or 3 brothers and sisters up there. The numbers don't match. Now remember, I was one of the first diversity recipients.
Yep.
So we went from like 20 people to at this point like 500, 600, 700 people, and it's the same amount of people on Harold Night now. That there are 600, 700 people in this group than there was when it was 16 over the span of 3-4 years. So I've been here. You're not doing you. There's definitely more students of color. You're giving away free classes. But when it comes to callbacks and auditions, and it comes down to like who's making the stage, I'm not seeing it. And I don't want to put down
the
people
UCB,
of color
man.
who were there. Because the thing too, like those people that were there that were like the token color person of color on the team, like shout out to them too. You know what I mean? Because it's like they had their own thing to go through. I mean, I don't know them all personally, and they might say it was great and there were no issues. But I'm just saying that.
Well, it just seemed like there was a system that you had that you was not only you fighting against the auditions and you killing it and trying to do it, but now you also fighting another system that's not needed for you to get a callback because whatever numbers or quota they have to reach or whatever, or whatever who's in charge to hit that green button and be like, you're in. It's like you're fighting a harder fight just to get in. Another, which is not needed. You
It's
know?
not
Right.
needed because you didn't even start there. Like it's like you starting all over all the time.
Exactly. And then I've been fortunate enough to sit in auditions a few years ago, and I always tried to do that because I was like, oh well, this is almost like voting as far as like, well, if I'm being called to audition and I don't see enough diversity, it's time for me to get up here and see what's going on. And that was interesting, and I saw so many amazing people, and I don't know how to explain it. It's not like it. I saw so much talent. I helped. I saw. I helped to sit in on some auditions for about 2 3 days, 2 days, and I was just surprised at when callbacks came out, and some people didn't get callbacks. It was just like insane. Like I saw, but also too when you sit in on auditions, I can only speak for the years that I've done it, but it wasn't like a democracy thing. It was just kind of like the person's taking your opinion. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it doesn't really like I can't. There's nothing like where it's still up to one person ultimately.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like it's a panel, American Idol style, but it'd be like if American Idol, it didn't matter what anyone else, what Randy or Paula said, only Simon Cowell decides. Well, then we're just here for show. And also I've only been there I haven't been there for the entire process. Maybe there are other rounds where maybe it gets more democratic, but otherwise it feels like it's up to one or two people.
So then James the Third hit you with an email, was like, "Yo, fuck UCB, bro. Let's do this
start our own."
astronomy thing and take over the world."
I can say honestly, I was always FUCB in the beginning. James was never FUCB. In fact, James, bless James' heart, James always had an open mind and an open heart toward that institution and kind of people and places in general,
Yeah.
which is also a reason why I think this brother is so successful.
Mhm.
He really can see things through a positive lens. He really tries his best. So yeah, I think I felt a little scorned, a little abused by UCB.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when he said, let's get together and audition as a team of all black people, my first thought was, oh, I'm definitely down because I know they're not going to put us on. And I just want them to look me in my face and look. I want them to look in 8 brown people's faces and say no at the same time, and then still tell me you want the reverse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, this ain't happening. I just did not believe they were gonna cast us. They were gonna even give us callbacks, let alone put us on the team. So it's almost like I was being petty. No, I was like, I want to do this to be petty.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I got to point out when James was like, let's do this and audition. This was like almost a year before auditions. This wasn't like, hey, auditions are coming up in a few weeks. Let's do this. He was like, we're going to do this right. And that was the thing. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I already spoke to Keisha. Now I'm speaking to you. What do you think? What do you think about this? I was like, it's great. Let's just reach out to people that we know. Let's bring funny people together. Funny people, consistent people that actually want to do this because it's a commitment.
Hold on, let me check what year was this? I'm gonna check my email.
2014.
2014. Hold on, I'm just checking to see if you sent me an email.
2014 or 13.
No, I didn't get an email from you guys inviting me, but it's all good. So
no, damn.
No, go ahead.
I thought shit. I don't know what happened, man. You know what? I messed up the dot. I put too many R's in Herrera. I fucked up. It was me.
Man, yeah.
So we reached out to some folks and people. Oh, but I was saying back to the commitment of it because we were like, hey, we want to rehearse every week if we can, multiple times. We want to do shows. We want to do it right. We always knew from the beginning. It got solidified when we became an official team. Yeah. But even somewhat in the process, we already know the first thing you're going to say is, oh, let's check out this black team. Look at this black team. So we know that's going to be the first thing you label us when you see us. Yep. We were like, it can't be they're funny because they're black. We just can't have that. It has to be funny. We know you're going to say, let's watch this black team or yay black team. But the second thing you better say is, oh, shit, they're funny. You know what I mean? So that was always something we wanted to be out there. Like, make sure that we can't help what you see. But after a few shows, you're going to be like, okay, this is just that funny team. It's not just that funny black team anymore.
And that's what I felt watching you guys prior to like the Netflix thing, just watching you guys before that, that you guys were funny. You know,
Right.
it wasn't even about. Yeah, it helped that it was like, yeah, a black team that's hilarious. It's great to see that and see a difference rather than white teams all the time. But it was like if you just take the color away, it's fucking hilarious. They're like 8 people that are funny.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that. But
No
yeah,
problem.
yeah. So we got, and I'll say this. So just to clean up, or to rather to give the bright side to my FUCB rant, when I felt the entire time again that we weren't going to get a call back, I just wanted to see them tell us no. When it got close to auditions, see, there was a little bit. People were starting to respond to our shows. We had done a few indie shows. People were like, oh, this that team. We weren't called Astronomy Club. We were doing shows without a name. We were just doing shows. We didn't have a name. And people were like, "Oh man, this team is all right." This is a practice group. Had like a throw together name. I gotta ask what our name was. How did we even come on stage back in the day? But whatever. We we did some shows, and then when we had the audition, or like a few days before the audition, I said to myself, if we get a call back, that's it. We're gonna get through. I felt good. I started to finally believe it. I was like, this energy, this vibe is really good. Like, oh crap, we might actually get made into a team. If we get a call back, this is all internal. I'm like, if we get a call back, I know we're gonna become a team. And literally, I got the phone call or the email that we got a call back, and I knew when I got that phone call. I think I cried. I think I cried because I knew. I think we had this callback. I remember calling. We all rejoiced over the callback, and then when we got the news of the team, no, I cried when we got the news of the team, but I felt it. I felt that I knew we got it. I was already like, oh, this is it. We're not going to call back, and then when I could go further. Then we had the callback, and the callback was a fun callback, and then we got the call that we got that they were gonna make us a team, and I called Jarrah on Astronomy Club, and he was on a road trip, and he had his friends pull the car over. And I just heard him breathing hard. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm running around the car." He said, "I'm excited." uh, but yeah, it was great. And then one thing I think that stuck with us, or who we've been from day one, when you become a team at the time, they don't really have that anymore in this way. But he told us why, and he like, you guys were funny, the improv was great, but it's almost hard to explain. But you guys had a great sense of teaminess. It feels like you've already been a team, and you've been a team for years. And I feel like that's always been a thing where it's like we felt like a team. I think we always worked well together. I think we always were able to kind of carry each other in different ways. It was kind of like it was nice. It was a crazy organic. Like we set out to make this team, but we didn't know how it was going to be. And definitely that first email chain was probably like 11 people, and it broke down to like 8 people. So it's been an interesting journey. Very thankful.
So now,
Oh, go ahead.
oh,
No, I wanted to know how you come up with the name, like how it came.
Okay. So I'll give you the short answer. This is the true story. So literally, you had to sign up for auditions. You had to have a holder name if your team was auditioning. If we didn't have a team name yet, and James brought us together, so James was going to sign us up for the auditions. So he literally was like, "Oh, hey guys, at the deadline, I think we had an email chain about like trying to think about what our name was going to be." And James was like, "You know what? The deadline's coming. I just put down Astronomy Club." And his thought process was something to the degree of like he just thought about, I think, like uh I don't know if he thought about good groups, or like a group, and he thought about like astronomy club in like his high school. I don't know if he was a part of it, but he was just thinking about things, and he just came to his head first, and he just put it down. And he literally said, "Hey, I put down astronomy club for just to hold a name. We can change it when we figure out a name." And we all were like, "Change it? That's amazing!" Like it was like it doesn't, it means nothing. He was like, "I just put it down. It doesn't have anything behind it." And then we were like, "Oh, what are you kidding me? Astronomy club is right there." Even in that moment, we sort of like put it together. I was like, I get it. I see where you're going with this. He's like, "I swear it's random." I'm like, "Yeah, it's random. Astronomy club, space, black people." He was like, well, I was, and then we sort of just kind of joked around, and literally, Keisha has this line in the show, but we literally joked about that in that moment. He said Astronomy Club randomly, but as a team, we built it up like, nah, it's just like space. It's black and it's full of stars. And we kind of organically joked about what it really meant. And then we were like, "Oh, this is great." But we we always loved it for what it was randomly, and then we kind of had this personal meaning behind it. We gave it.
How now take us down this journey of now performing, as a team, having success, getting, becoming a family together and watching you guys each other's back on that stage and also off, and now getting a Netflix deal, being on Netflix.
Well, Comedy Central first, no?
Yeah.
Comedy Central first. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, they went Comedy Central.
My bad.
Comedy Central.
From
right. There.
It was digital. It was digital. It wasn't like in the 10 p.m. slot.
So Comedy Central first.
Yeah. Wait. So what was the question? You want to know about?
So I just want to know the journey. Well, I want to know the journey of like getting into Netflix because now of the whole age of like Comedy Central is big for that moment, and I will give you that. But especially around the time now that like Netflix is like buying a certain amount of shows, especially stand up and comedy. For some reason, they mapped out, and now they became like the king of like purchasing comedy and putting it. And to me, when I saw that, and as a human being, I was so excited. I was so happy, especially for you. I just thought about how we met, us going to see the shows together and stuff like that. And I knew your journey, and I was so happy. It wasn't even so much how much they was paying you or you being on TV. No, it was just like
Monique was right. No, I'm kidding.
But it was just so much of like, okay, it could have been HBO. It was just like, okay, wow, my brother now has reach a bigger platform. You can reach that. It's almost a sense of like when they told you, if you're gonna improv, you can't make money off of this, but you did. So like I looked, I was like, dang, yo, that's dope. And I looked at that process as the same thing. I was like, man, that's awesome. I knew this dude, and now he's on this platform. So what did that mean for you to get that Netflix deal, and then the first day on set, it's like, holy shit, like, look at where we came from.
I'm gonna go back to the beginning, but remind me if I forget. But where I got to was, or where I'm at now is, it's like I'm going through the next chapter of my dreams all over again. Kind of how I felt when I was in improv. When I first got to level 1 improv, I liked it. It was really fun, and I was like, okay, this is something I'm gonna have to learn. This is almost a science to this. It's like a real art form. I have to learn, but if I feel like I can do this, and I think if I do well with it, it'll help me. It'll help my career. It'll help the journey. It'll help my everything. And after a while, it felt like, okay, I can do anything in improv now. I feel like I have the opportunity. I can get to Hell Night one night. I can do this one day. Some things I did, some things I didn't. But I mean, I did a lot with that. But then, so when it came down to I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm doing this long road. When I got to Netflix and after Netflix, I realized, okay, this is basically Hollywood 101, similar to Improv 101. This is fun. I know what I'm doing. Oh, I can do anything now, and I believe that. And I think it's different. It feels like my dreams have changed. I think when I started out, it's like you dream of like getting that opportunity. Oh, it'd be great to have my own show. It'd be great to have my own movie, whatever it is. So now we've gotten this show together, and to see it come from this thing of just trying to find a voice in the theater, and I have to go all the way to Netflix. Now I feel like, oh, okay, I can do anything now. So back to how we got to this place. So, like I said, so we had Astronomy Club. We were the first all-black team at UCB improv house team. And we had Lloyd Night. That went really well. And at the time that Astronomy Club broke, or not too long after, or one followed the other, but they had that big SNL scandal about not having black women on their show. And someone said in an article, it came out like, oh, well, we cast some improv houses. There's no black people at improv houses. So everybody lost their mind who was a person of color in an improv house. It was like, we're right here. Y'all here? We don't see y'all out here. We're here. So then when it got announced that we were going to be the first all-black team at UCB, a lot of people came out to see that show. It was definitely packed that first show in general. I think because of that same thing about the SNL and Black women, people wanted to see. So there was some industry folks there. It was a little intense. It was a lot of people at the first show, but the show was great. We had a great run there, and then after about a year and a half, we got sort of dismantled as an improv team at UCB. But we came to them as ourselves. So literally, the person at the time, the artistic director at the time, reached out to us and said, "Hey, it's been a great run, but I don't think you all are ready to move on as a group to Harold Night. So your journey here is pretty much it's kind of over. But I want you guys should still do things together, or basically like, hey, it's still cool if you call yourselves Astronomy Club and still do things." And we're like, well, we know that it's our group, but but so we ended up. So when literally that's exactly what happened.
I'm sorry. It's like
we got the break up.
It's like, I don't know. I was breaking up a little bit. It was good, but it's like, all right, we let you in the house for a year and a half. We let you taste the food,
right,
and you did amazing.
Right.
Great stuff. We reached your quota. We showed the world in the media that we love Black people.
It died down,
and we're gonna say no to you, but we're gonna say yes to the other 5 white groups that we have because they're ready for Harold.
Right, right. Now it for me. It was the callback email all over again. Like
yes.
You guys were so great, but we just don't have the numbers on Harold Night for you guys. Please come back next year. So it was a weird thing because it was like, right. I was already like, I guess you could say maybe a year and a half or 2 years before that. I was like, oh, screw UCB. Then I get in this team. We have this, people, things go well, successful shows, and then you're like, oh, sorry, we don't have room for you on Harold Night. And it's just so crazy because then what ended up happening was they didn't get rid of any of us. They just moved us around, and we all ended up being tokens on other white teams. And it was like the thing that we did to avoid. You've broken us down and put us back in those. But
they saw how powerful
whatever.
You are. That's how I see it.
Right. So that happened, but we literally were like, oh, well, listen, we did Astronomy Club before UCB. It might have been for UCB, but it was before UCB. So there's no need for this to stop. And literally we were like, all right, we did improv. We're all writers and performers. Let's just do a fun one-off show together, and we'll pitch it to UCB. If they don't like it, we'll take it somewhere else. And we wrote a one-off for Black History. We did a Black History Month show, and UCB responded very well to it. The intention was for it to be a one-time shot. And then UCB, to their credit, was like, hey, you know what? This doesn't have to only be for Black History Month. You can do this show all the time. Why don't you cut it down for time, reformat it a little bit, and, we'll see if we can make it a regular show here. We were like, great. Now, UCB is notorious for having people do Spanx over and over and over again. So if you're out there at UCB LA, or you were struggling in UCB New York to try and get a Spank up, or you have to do Spanx a million times, they tell you get like 2 tries. But if they think that it really has a shot, they'll give you more chances. But basically, they made Astronomy Club Spank this show 4 times. Now, we did it as a one-off, and they were like, oh, come back and do it regularly. A Spank is more or less a tryout for a show. So we had this one-off that you asked us to come back and do regularly, and then they made us rewrite it 4 times. And a lot of the times, I won't get into the detail of it, but one time was definitely, it felt like a political choice as far as the content of the work. They were like, you know what? This was hands down one of the best shows you've done, but I'm not comfortable with this particular scene. So it became a thing of like basically politicking over a line or 2 or 3 in a piece. And it basically came down to, well, are we going to bite this bullet and get this show up? Or are we going to stand our ground, let them cancel us over some uncomfortable scenes, and sort of live in that space of pretty much, all right, you want to silence us, we'll do this somewhere else. And then, it is what it is. But again, back to that unity. For me being one of the first diversity recipients and knowing seeing what Astronomy Club did, seeing people come out at the shows and say, "Oh my God, this is great! I'm taking classes. I know Black people could do this. I know, we had a voice here." That was great. I think it came down to, we were already shaking it up by being the first all Black improv team at UCB. I can't say this for a fact, but at least as far as the number of us there are, it was like, you know what, we can change this line or this scene. What's the bigger picture here? And I think it's having 8 Black people on stage at the biggest sketch theater in New York City. And that was a choice that we made. So we kind of made that edit. We kind of bit that bullet. Also, looking back at it, it's arguable, like, as far as, like, the line definitely was a bit passionate. The scene was definitely a bit passionate in the moment. I think the show would have been hurt by it, but I'm happy that we made the choice that we did. I'm happy that we still had the show and was able to put that show on. And even then, the same effect the improv show had, the sketch show had. People would come up to us after shows or after improv shows later on, like, "Oh my God, that sketch show was everything. I want to write sketch too. I didn't know you could do sketch like that." So yeah, back to the bigger picture. That was definitely a scenario where it was like, I'm so happy that we kind of swallowed our pride and didn't just kind of fully on rebel and go where else, because I think it meant a lot to have that show at that theater, specifically that show at that theater. So now we had the show at the theater, and the show did so well. At the time, I knew the person who ran UCBLA, so I reached out to him and said, "Hey, we have this show over at." Eventually, after our 4th spank, and we made that choice, we got a 5-month run of our history show, Astronomy Club, presents a journey through Black history. So we had that run for 5 months at UCB New York. Also, not to be weird, but most shows. No, I'm sorry. It ran for 2 months, but most banks run 3 months. Don't know why we only had 2-month run, but whatever. UCB's weird.
Again.
Anyway, but we know. So I reached out to the guy in LA and was like, "Hey, we want to do our show in LA. Would that be cool?" And he was like, "Absolutely. We'd love to have you." And then not long after that, he stepped down. But the person who took over also loved to have us and invited us out there. So we went to LA and we did 2 live shows out in LA at both UCB theaters in LA. All the time while that was happening, between the first Journey Through Black History show and UCB being a Lloyd team, we had got invited to be part of Comedy Central's comedian showcase. And we didn't get past like the first round of it. After we did the 2 shows in LA about a year later, when we were coming back from LA, we got an email inviting us to the 2016 or 2016 Comedy Central Comedians to Watch showcase, and we had to have like like an audition round. And if you got into the showcase, which we did, we had the audition, got into the showcase, and then like the prize was, I think, like $200, and like they'll make a sketch for you on ComedyCentral.com. Now, at the same time that we were in that showcase, we had the show in LA. We were trying to get pitch meetings for a sketch show. So Comedy Central, basically, we did well at the showcase, and they were like, it went from we never made the sketch, but we got a pitch meeting. And then they just ended up giving us a whole digital series. That's what happened with that. We got a digital series after being in a showcase they have for comedians to watch. And then we did the showcase. We did the digital series. It was 6 pieces, 6 episodes. And yeah, Comedy Central was great, but they just held us up for so long, to be honest. They just kind of benched us, so to say. We had filmed those sketches in like 2016, and they didn't see the light of day until like holiday season 2017. And they kept saying, and they kept saying things like, "Oh, it's going to come out soon. We got a strategy." And like, I don't want to put dirt in anybody's name. It was a great project to make. It was fun while we were there. It literally just, they didn't put it out, and they didn't really have a real reason for it. And then when it did come out, it kind of just felt like, it's out. But luckily, some great people saw it. And particularly a gentleman named Dan Powell, who runs Irony Point Productions. He had saw the Comedy Central piece and was a big fan of us from the beginning. And we had got a little bit of buzz when the Comedy Central piece came out, and we took some meetings with a couple different production companies. And but from the beginning, I think we felt the biggest connection from Dan. He kind of just he had a great resume as far as he had some success in sketch in the background. He actually came from UCB, which I didn't know before the meeting began. Because we always ask everybody we met with, there's 8 of us. So do you have any experience, or how do you feel about dealing with 8 people? Because we're 8 writers, 8 performers, 8 different thoughts. And because most people don't deal with that. If you even get like a Chappelle or someone, it's like 1, 2, maybe 3 people. You're not getting all these people with you. And Dan right away was like, oh, I did it. I was on the UCB improv team. I did UCB sketch for years. I was on Maud Night, Harold Night. So he had done the whole 8-person team. He kind of knew the background we were coming from. He had worked on Inside Amy Schumer. In fact, I believe he might have been the co-creator of Amy Schumer, Inside Amy Schumer, and he had success already. And he really talked about wanting to help us make a show, but he wanted it to be like, our thing. He was very into like helping us kind of get our voice out there and helping us to create create what we wanted to create. And he promised us 2 things. Well, he said, this is what I want in this order. Number 1, I want you to make something that you're proud of and you feel good about. And number 2, I want to help you make something that will give you work somewhere else when this is all done. I mean, you can't beat that. And he definitely, for whatever, stuck true to his word. When it was done, we were very proud of it. And we've all gotten work since from that. But so we had this journey. It wasn't like we got Netflix. Dan came to us and said, my company wants to make this show. I don't know where the show is going to be at, but I'm letting you know I want to make this show with you. And then it just kind of became trying to find a home for it. And we sat with so many people who were great. I can say for the meetings, we had great meetings everywhere. We met with Freeform. We met with, which might sound like a weird choice, but we met with Freeform. We met with, which was formerly ABC Family.
Yeah.
We met with True TV, IFC, Netflix, of course. And then shout out to BET. That was my personal favorite meeting.
Nice.
BET, when we walked into BET, I didn't know what to expect because, they've been sold and passed around a little bit. And, like at the end of the day, like, you expect someone white to be running it, which I'm sure someone white probably does run it. But for the interview or for the pitch meeting we had, it was just a room full of brown people. And it was very lovely to see. And they, for me, asked the best questions. There was this wonderful elder lady in the room who had that auntie feel, and she asked like the best questions. At one point, she was like, "Oh, you all have been so lovely so far, and we meet a lot of lovely people. But why Astronomy Club? Why should we invest in Astronomy Club?" And I love those kind of questions. And then she was just so kind about it, and we all gave a little bit of a few of us gave some answers, and they were very into it. They asked us why we were Astronomy Club, but it was just great to just the feeling of that room. 8 of us, like 6 of them. Everyone's a person of color. Just felt great.
What was the decision?
But the main meeting was.
What was the final factor between you not picking BET and going over Netflix?
Oh, I mean, I just had a great time in the BET room. Netflix definitely reached out first. The Netflix meeting was, but I enjoyed the experience of the BET room.
Gotcha.
But Netflix, and shout out to BET, we found out later on, way after the fact, that BET was going to make us an offer, but they heard that Netflix had already signed us. So BET was interested. But Netflix was incredibly fast. And to give you an idea, we were at Comedy Central for almost two years, maybe even 3 years. It was a long time we were at Comedy Central. It was ridiculous. And then we really kind of couldn't move too much because we waited to see what was happening with Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Netflix, oh my gosh, we met them in March. The meeting we had was so great. I'm not even lying to you. I looked at the clock when the meeting started and when it finished. It had been exactly 20 minutes. And it almost felt like a welcoming meeting, even though it was a pitch meeting. Netflix was very, very into us. But the insane part about Netflix, I don't know how I can leave this part out. So a few days, literally our Netflix meeting was on a Thursday. And I flew in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. on Monday, we get a call. So a member on my team had a friend that works for Kenya Barris, creator of Blackish,
Yeah,
Mixish, and
love
Black
that.
Black as Fuck, correct? Yes.
Hmm.
And now, basically, they showed Kenya our stuff, and Kenya had just signed a deal with Netflix to create new content. And Kenya calls us on a Monday and goes, "Hey, so and so, Annie showed me your work. I think it's great. I heard you have a meeting with Netflix. We'd love to join up with you in making your show." And we were like, "Great." Oh no, he said we would love to vouch for you at your Netflix meeting.
Mm.
We were like, "Yeah, please." And then literally the meeting like 2 days later, and he asked to see us in person. He invited us to his office. The meeting at his office was at 9 a.m. My flight landed at 9:30. Anyway, so I didn't get to meet Kenya at the initial. I didn't get to meet Kenya at the initial meeting. This was the last minute, you know. It was very last minute. It was the only time he had free. I literally met up with everyone as they were coming out of the Kenya Barris meeting, but a few of us didn't make it. Unfortunately, a few of us didn't make because it was just very last minute. But yeah, so we went to Netflix and he sent someone to speak on his behalf for us, and Netflix was very into it from that moment. And we weren't signed on the spot, but again, it kind of felt it was so surreal because it was like, well, Kenya just signed this deal with Netflix for new content. He's here vouching for us and saying that if you do sign us, he wants to make it under his deal. Do we have a Netflix show? You know what I mean? Like it was just so like it feels like, but it hasn't. And then and the gentleman that signed us at Netflix, great guy, Ben Cavey. He made it very, he kept throwing in there, oh, I'm not signing you in this moment. We have to watch the tape and we have to blah blah blah. But he loved the Comedy Central series. I should also say that Ben flew out. Let me tell you about some what Netflix, how Netflix is doing out there. Ben flew out to see our improv show one night. He flew out for dinner with someone else and to see our improv show, and then flew back to LA the next morning. But he came out and saw our show. Right. And he had dinner with somebody big. I ain't gonna put his business out there. But he had dinner with somebody big, and then after that dinner, right to our show, and he just loved the show, and he was very kind. And that was before we had the meeting with him. So he came to our show about a week or two before the meeting, and then he clearly already enjoyed us a lot before we had Kenya Barris involved. I think when Kenya hopped on, it probably just felt like fate. And then it took us a few weeks to get that phone call, but we felt good about it. It felt good, and we got that call. But Netflix moved so fast; they signed us right away. We started writing right away, filming right away. Netflix gave us a show and canceled it in like 9 months. We had a baby, got kicked out of the house at Netflix.
So
much time passed.
I think,
and I want to get into that because you mentioned it that like you're also on you made this happen and it could happen, but now you have it's like Hollywood 101, and now you're like
from the beginning, from UCB.
Yeah,
Right.
and you're like, there's a new dream for me now. So describe now, okay, you were happy, you got it, a show, and I will say this, and not because you're my friend, that show was fucking funny. I was surprised. Of course, I went into it that I want to laugh, and also went into it like I hope it's good because I knew you guys from the performance level in theater. Right. I'm like, how it's going to translate it now on Netflix and the TV, blah blah blah. So I did go into it in a sense of like, I have my critiques about it. Like, man, I hope it's still going to give me that, and it did. I was laughing, and it was funny, and I was like, yo. I was so happy that I felt confident they was going to get another season, right? I would, if I was behind that door, I wouldn't see any reason why not to give you another season, because you always hear the same thing, like, oh, there's other shows that get another season and shit. And I didn't feel that about the show. I'm like, this show's fucking funny and it's good. And it's not even about, he's my friend, he deserves another season. I'm like, nah, it's a legit show. Give him another season. I want to see this grow.
Not only was it funny, but it also had message. It has substance. It wasn't just funny to be funny. You had messages in those sketches that made people think. You know what I mean? So it had more substance to just be funny.
I want to know now that you went through On Top of the World, and this is a dream come true, and now you're learning the other side of what you have experienced in your life, the beast of rejection and stuff like that. Them not giving you the second season, how did that sit with you hearing that? And then, but then I also find out like you guys signed on to something else, not with Netflix, but you have another venture that you guys are doing. But before you know about that, when you got the call, like, hey, because I think this is great to know from like a lot of artists, other artists as well, that wants to reach that level. And I'm like, hey, you can have it, but then it's not to say you're going to have it forever. There's more work that you need to do within yourself to find success within yourself first and be happy yourself, rather than getting a confirmation from a network or other people, because it won't last forever. So getting that rejection, to say, hey, it's great working with you, but we're not going to move forward. What were you going through in that moment?
Well, a lot. But first, definitely grateful to have done it with people that I know and respect and love so much already. One thing that we've all appreciated about the journey we've had together, that we've mentioned from day one. I mean, literally the first day of the writers' room, the first day of set. This is it now. We're in Hollywood, and who knows what can happen for the show? It could be the best show ever, and it could still get canceled. Who knows? It could be the worst show ever and get a second season. Who knows? It wasn't gonna be the worst show ever, but you know what I mean. You don't know how people are gonna take to things, but we said, most people who get this opportunity, they're out there by themselves. We're doing this together. We were fortunate enough that we're all writers, we're all actors, we're all producers on this show. So it was nice to have that first taste of Hollywood with people that you kind of trust outside of the machine, or at least new to the machine as you are. So it was nice to have that experience together. And it was like, no matter what happens from here on out, we had this together. And what a great way to be introduced to this world with people you already know and have worked with for years. So we're very fortunate for that. So that's definitely the first thing. And then, when you make a show, you obviously put your all into it. Again, come from where we come from, not knowing if we're going to another opportunity like this, not having a large social media following, which seems like a thing you have to have nowadays. I always joke that we were kind of the last of that generation of almost like you can get a show from just kind of hard work and talent and a few connections here. Whereas now it's like you got to have 1 million followers and like, whoa, are you viral? You know what I mean? All these other things. But yeah, so when we got the news, you don't know how people are gonna react. People responded so well to Astronomy Club. I had no idea. I felt good about it. The team felt good about it, but you still just don't know. And to see people respond to it so well, it just felt so good. When we were filming it, you can ask anybody. The set was diverse. The cast was the crew was diverse rather. And that was an awesome thing to see too. We had guest players come, especially people who weren't people of color. They'd say the same thing. Like, obviously the cast is diverse, but I've never seen a crew this diverse. And there were so many people. It was nice to see people that were on this set, and you see people that they're going through their journey and through their dreams. There are people on that set who they had got their union card from this job. So they had reached their goals through working on our project. And even in that moment, I think me and James had a side note. We were emotional. Like, we both kind of had water in our eyes. And it was like, everyone here is here because of an idea that we had. Everyone here is moving forward in their career because of what we created. And I think in that moment for me, it was like, oh, it's so much more than like the laughs. It was like, this is real life, and like, it's levels to it. The fans get to have the joy of laughter and whatever feels they get from the show. But people in real life who work jobs, this is like helping them feed their families, and that felt super special. So when we got the news that there wouldn't be a season 2, I couldn't. It sucked because I was like, oh, everyone responded so positively. Even we had good news coverage as far as like different articles and publications had gave us a thumbs up. Rotten Tomatoes gave us an amazing, ridiculously high rating. And then we still didn't get a season 2. So it's that thing of like, damn, like people like it, the media likes it, and still it doesn't happen. So it kind of sucks. And they gave us a reasoning. They were very amicable about it. They were very nice about it. Netflix. I'll say this. I don't want to throw dirt on Netflix's name. They were great to us. They sent a nice email when they said they couldn't go forward with it. They've also been kind enough to let us out of our contract and shop the show around somewhere else. So you never know. There
Oh,
could be
Yes,
some more
that's
Astronomy
good.
Club coming
oh,
from somewhere
okay.
else. And they didn't have to do that. They should, but they didn't have to technically. Legally, they didn't have to do that.
Hmm.
So I'm happy that they did that. You know, we didn't have to fight them. We asked, and they were like cool. And so they're letting so Kenya is going to help us shop around the show somewhere else. But with
BET,
that
get
being
that
said,
auntie again. Get that
Get
auntie.
auntie.
right, it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah.
But 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 what I learned in that process too was when they canceled us, it was a thing of like I want to say something specifically. Sorry, I lost my main point. Um, oh, here it is. Oh, I'm so happy we waited on this. No shade to Netflix, but when you get this kind of opportunity, it just is what it is in the sense that people don't often allow shows that star people of color room to grow. So many times you have friends who say you have to watch this show. It doesn't get good till season 3, but after that, it's amazing. You gotta watch this go. You can skip the first 2 seasons. You can skip the first season, but like season 3, oh, it's a whole new show. And I feel like when you those shows you hear about, it tends to have the same type of people in them. I don't think
Yep.
shows that have diverse casts get a chance to grow. If you're not a hit, you're out of here. That's just the way it seems to be. And
No, it
So
is.
you
It
were.
is
I would
because we
right,
we had a last interview. We had Jenny Lorenzo, who
Hmm.
she's in LA. She does a lot of Latino comedy, Latino content. She's been in the writers' room, and she
hmm
said the same thing. Like
Yeah.
there's so much pressure. They don't give a lot of opportunities, and then if they do invest a little bit of a budget, they're like, "Well, this better return so much profit and so much. It better go through the roof because
right,
that's it. You got 8 episodes, and that's it."
Yeah.
But everybody else who are not person of color, like you said, they
They
get
go
so many
through like two,
opportunities.
three, four
They let
seasons.
they let everything build up, and I feel like it's supposed to be that way. And I get it; it's a
right,
money thing, it's a business thing. You don't want to invest, blah blah blah. But the same opportunities that you gave everybody else, you should give us.
Cheers.
You know, there's millions of white people
exactly,
that we saw movies that suck and that are great, but there's only a small portion of people of color in movies and sitcoms
right,
that gotta make it within a certain amount of time. If not, you're out, you're cut.
right. So ultimately, I felt disappointment when we got canceled because we already had thoughts. I was working on so many ideas for season 2, and we all learned so much. Like every day, every moment was was a learning tool. And I think we all felt like, oh, we got this now. Season 2, like we really have a feel for this. We know what we're doing because even though we had our own show, there's not a show that has 8 writers in the sense of like we're all making the same thing together. So it's a
Yeah.
learning process for everybody. So we kind of found our rhythm and we even thought about how to do things better behind the scenes had been given an opportunity for a second season. So I think not having a chance to see how much better we could have gotten, because I ain't gonna say we had the perfect show. So it sucks to not have gotten a chance to build on what had already started. But like I said, you never know because hopefully we
Exactly.
can find another home. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
Nothing's
you
set in
will.
stone.
You will.
You
And
will
that too,
find that.
same thing with UCB. We were there for one season, they cut us. Then we found Comedy Central.
But here's the
Also, before
beautiful thing.
Netflix, we asked Comedy Central to give us a show. They were like, no. But yeah.
But here's the beautiful thing is that they can't
So
take
what
away. You
you
guys have 8
Of
people that you grinded out with from
mm-hmm.
the beginning, that have a bond, that have this relationship, and are
And that can
learning and
yeah.
growing together, creating content off of this idea, and then getting better. You had the success and the challenges as a group and felt it. So if anything,
right,
this has built you guys even better as a
Made you
unit and
stronger.
individually and
Mm-hmm.
stronger. So by the time that you will find another home, which you will, you guys are going to take those notes and the ideas you had, what you was going to make for the second season better. You're already
You're already gonna
starting.
have
You're
it.
already
Yeah.
ahead.
You're ahead of the game.
You're ahead of the game, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that no
right.
network
Thank you.
could have gave you. You know what I'm saying? You guys did that. You guys did the
Right.
work.
Oh, I mean, Netflix is the best personal acting reel. I only speak for myself, but I've gotten a lot of I've gotten some more attention since the show came out, from writers and from writing wise and performance wise. And when you make something, you make it the best it can be. I don't think I fully thought about the ramifications of me putting myself out there in a positive sense. I just knew that I was going to be true to who I was and put my truth out there. And I know that representation counts. So I know seeing yourself or seeing someone like you helps, but to see it, I guess, face to face is different. Like I've been places before Corona hit. I was at a party, and this young lady came up to me, and she thanked me for representing Black queerness on television. And moments like that is like amazing. And even that is like, yeah, like it matters when you see that stuff out there. Like, now what can I do to help put that out there more and put out more positive images of people from all walks of life? But, I think having those personal experiences like that, it's like, oh, I want to keep doing this. I want to produce more content that has diverse people in it. I want to be in more things. I want to help create more things. So that's definitely, I think, too, being a producer on this. Honestly, when we signed the deal, I was like, awesome, I'm a producer. What does that mean? And then I think like kind of going through it, and I still feel like that's the kind of title where a producer, I say, oh, they just do whatever they have to, like for a production, they kind of just get it done, so to say. So I think kind of getting to wear that hat with the production was something which was really eye opening too. It made me feel like, oh, I really want to produce stuff. I really want to help kind of make projects happen. So I learned a lot about myself too as an artist on that journey. So now that Astronomy Club's over, but you never know,
It's
possibly
on
having some
pause.
finding a new home. Aside from that, what was that?
It's on pause.
It's on pause, right? It's on pause. It's on pause. So while that's paused, for me, I think I started improv, or why I was so comfortable in improv is because it was this group or this team based thing. And I felt more comfortable with other people. I like bouncing jokes off other people. I like that group energy, that group chemistry. And those are all the positive things. The negative side of that was I think I was afraid of something like stand up because it was like, oh, it's me by myself. It's just you. You have to kind of bear it all. I think at the time, especially when I was younger, I wasn't comfortable being myself. I didn't even fully know what my truth was. Now that I've grown so much over the years, and especially through having my own show on Astronomy Club, it's almost, I don't know, I hope it's not insulting, but it's almost bittersweet to know if Astronomy Club might not get another season, in the sense that I'm also excited about having to do the journey on my own. Now, never on my own, because I have Astronomy Club as friends in real life, for life, and then also real friends and family. So never really alone. But I'm excited about the idea of kind of making my own kind of waves now. And I always cherish things. I know how great Astronomy Club is in the sense of like, we helped build this awesome, amazing thing. So it's nice when I do things on my own. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I'm still an individual. I'm still an artist. So I look forward to that now, that part of the journey.
Well, I think you owe it to yourself. I think it's time that you start developing, because I saw a glimpse of where, from your one man show that you just put together, I saw a glimpse of where it could go. And you inspired me because, like I said, around that time, that's when I started taking control of my career, my journey, what the content I wanted to create. And I think it's time that you explore that even more, because you have brought a lot to people, and you recognize the power and the gift that you have. But I think now it's time to, you owe it to yourself. It's time to give those things to you. It's time to learn more about yourself and joke on yourself and accept yourself and speak on things that you hate about yourself and working on, and show that on the stage and show that into sketches. I think it will take you to another lane, another level within yourself. And also at the same time, without even knowing, because the goal, like you said, you're not creating these things to like help people, but like that girl who came to you, without you even recognizing, you helped her, by helping yourself first, because you put yourself out there. She didn't force you. So I look forward to that growth. I'm always I love seeing artists changing and like growing into something deeper and still being funny, evolving. Yes. So I look forward to that, brother.
So,
or as Michelle Obama puts it, becoming. We're all becoming.
So we're almost done. I mean, I could talk to you for like another 5 hours.
I know.
But,
Right. I just looked at the clock. I was like, oh, wow, it's been that long. It felt like 15.
Yeah.
Great.
So we're going to move to the last segment.
Last segment.
And it's called Let's Look Inside. And it's like 3 questions for that. And it's whatever comes to you. It doesn't have to be a long thing. It's just whatever comes to you. And then here's the first question.
The first question is, what do you love about yourself? Oh.
Okay. No, sorry. I was saying
you got it
a little bit. I think I got it. Just 3 questions I answered quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you get the first question?
Did you say what I love about myself?
Yes.
My compassion, kindness and compassion. That's 2 things, but
that's great. What does the American dream mean to you?
Whoo! You see, this is good. You're saying it fast. Even though I'm talking slow, I'm still gonna say the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, whatever comes to you.
Yeah, making it through the bullshit, whatever it means to you. Because I think
No, go ahead.
What do you want to say?
Well, no, I was gonna say, because the face value is like, oh, American dream, roads paved in gold, and it's like you get this, you get that, but there's so many things against you. If you can go against that adversity and still have a small piece, and by a small piece I mean like maybe property, and maybe feeling comfortable where you lay your head at, and maybe feeling safe in your neighborhood, and maybe having like whatever you need in your house, and being able to go on like a little family vacation, and have good health care. If you can kind of get those things, like that's great, but they make it so hard to even do that in a safe environment. It's like,
The last question is, if the average lifespan was 40 years, how would you live your life differently?
Wow. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if this is for better or for worse. I probably would be more bold, and I probably would be quicker to take more leaps of faith easily. I think I'd be bolder and take more chances immediately.